Hey class, in this video we're going to take a look at some examples of calculating the area of a circle. So in the previous couple of videos we've covered how to find the circumference, the distance around a circle, as well as arc length, the distance part of the way around a circle. And so now we'll bump it up one dimension and start talking about area. So the area of a circle is really a measure of the two-dimensional region, kind of like the space inside the circle that is taken up. And because it is two-dimensional, it will always be measured in squared units. So like square inches, square feet, always, shows that you're looking in two dimensions. So in this circle, the circumference would be the distance around the outside, but the area would be the two-dimensional region that's taken up, like how much space is taken up in that two-dimensional region. You can kind of think of the difference between circumference and area. If you think of a pizza, the circumference is like the crust of the pizza, whereas the area is all the sauce and cheese and everything that's in the middle. So we've got circumference going around the circle, but area on the inside of that circle. There's only one formula that you'll need to know for area of a circle. It's pretty simple. The area of a circle is equal to pi times the radius squared. So there's no area formula for using diameter. And so if you know the diameter, you'd have to make sure to divide that by 2 so that you're working with the radius. When you're dealing with area, you're always working with the radius. You can always convert to or from the radius if you need to, but in that formula, pi times the radius squared. So we'll take a look at a few examples of calculating the area of some circles. And so on this first circle, this one might be maybe like a cell phone tower that has a radius of 10 kilometers is how far that signal can travel. So the question here is, what area of ground will be covered by that signal from this cell tower? Well, we have a radius of 10 kilometers. So we'll take our formula, area equals pi r squared. And we're going to substitute in the one part that we know, which is the radius of 10. So our formula here will be the area equals pi times 10 squared. Now an exact answer, we'll square the 10, but leave the pi alone. So 10 squared is 100. So the exact area is 100 pi kilometers squared. And an approximate area, if you take that into a calculator and find, well, what is 100 times pi? You're going to get about 314.16 kilometers squared. So that cell tower would cover 314.16 square kilometers of area. In this second example, we have a diameter of 4 miles. Now remember that our formula for area is pi times the radius squared. So in this case, the radius is half of that diameter. So the radius would be 2 miles. So the area of this circle would be pi times 2 squared. As an exact area, that would be 4 pi. You square 2, you get 4. Or as an approximate area, take that to a calculator. What is 4 times pi? Well, that's about 12.57 square miles. Always make sure to use the units if you have them. One last quick example. We have a circle here with a radius of 12 inches. Well, let's see what we get for the area of that circle. We would have pi times the radius 12 squared. So 12 squared is 144. So that area would be 144 pi inches squared. And if we take that to a calculator, what is 144 times pi? That area would be 452.39 inches squared. So from these first few examples, you should be able to calculate the area of a circle if you know the radius or if you know the diameter. The next thing we'll take a look at is going backwards. What if you know the area and you're looking for the radius or the diameter? So what we're going to do when we're working backwards is we're going to start with our formula, area equals pi r squared, but we're going to plug in or substitute the area in for a, and then solve for r to find the radius. If we're looking for the diameter, then we could take that radius and double it. But we're just going to find the radius here. So let's say I have a circle. I don't know what that radius is, but I do know that the area has an exact value of 20 pi. And the question is, well, what is the measure of that radius? So what we'll do is we'll take the area formula, area equals pi r squared. But in this case, I don't know r, so I'm going to leave that as a variable. But I do know a, so I'm going to substitute in 20 pi for a. So 20 pi, the area, equals pi r squared. So we have two steps to solve this. The first thing that we would do is get rid of that pi. So we're going to divide by pi first. And in this case, we have a pi over pi, and those are going to divide out, cancel out to become 1. So we'll just end up with 20 on the left side equals r squared. And then to cancel out or undo that square on the radius, we're going to do the inverse of a square, which is a square root on each side. So on the right side, we'll end up with r, got rid of that square. On the left side, well, let's go ahead and simplify that. That would be, we're using a factor tree to simplify. Breaks down to 2 and 10. 10 breaks down to 2 and 5. So we've got a pair of 2's with a 5 left over on the inside. So the radius of that circle would be 2 radical 5. What if we had an area that was not exact? Let's say we have a circle here that has an unknown radius. And let's say that the area of that circle is 78.54 square kilometers. The question is, what's that radius? Well, we'll approach this one the same way that we approached the first one, which is to take the area formula, a equals pi r squared, and substitute in the part that we know. So 78.54 equals pi r squared. Well, first thing that we'll do is divide each side by pi. So we don't have a pi to cancel this one out, so we actually do have to grab a calculator and divide 78.54 divided by pi. And we'll go ahead and just round that. Well, 25.000058. We can just round that to 25 equals r squared. And then to cancel or undo that square, we'll take the square root on each side. And the square root of 25, well, that'll simplify just to 5 as our radius. Let's take those units, square kilometers. When we're dealing with the radius, radius is a one-dimensional unit, so just 5 kilometers for that radius. So from this video, you should be able to do a couple of things. You should be able to calculate the area of a circle if you know its radius or diameter. You should also be able to find the radius if you know the area by working backwards.